The families of victims who died in the hands of police during protests say no amount of money can ever heal the wounds left by the loss of their loved ones. Now, while they would welcome compensation, they stress that it should come with an official apology, making clear that such payments cannot erase the past but could serve as a gesture of accountability. A constitutional lawyer notes that even without a legal framework for the initiative, the government will be acting within its powers to pursue what it sees as good for the country. Meanwhile, human rights activists warn of broken promises, citing past cases where victims were promised assistance but received nothing.
President William Ruto's unveiling of a state-backed team to design a compensation framework for victims of protests and demonstrations is drawing mixed reactions from many. Families of victims, while welcoming the intent, insist that no amount of compensation will ever fill the gap left in their hearts and lives. They say an official apology from the government must accompany the payments if the gesture is to have meaning.
Sioni ni baya cause inaweza heal hiyo kidonda kidogo na at least akiomba msamaha pia itaweza sound a bit better.
When somebody loses a life, even you give me what, you cannot bring him back. It's just a way government could say it's just giving a sorry to us parents. Just a sorry, not a because if we ask for compensation, we should ask to bring the kids up.
According to constitutional lawyer Maxwell Miyawa, identifying genuine beneficiaries can be a complex process, likely requiring the government to review hospital records nationwide.
So the government really has to go into the records, because the government holds these records of all hospitals all over the country, obtain those records so that they can make genuine, bona fide compensation to legitimate and bona fide claimants.
He adds that since the national budget has already been passed, funds for the scheme may have to come from emergency special programs or disaster response allocations, meaning the government would have to dig deep into its coffers.
But I think that's a serious legal question. Where is the money coming from? This money, if it was not budgeted for, if you're drawing from one aspect of the budget into another.
Dr. Maxwell also suggests that the government should establish a formal policy for cases where families fight for bodies of deceased relatives, especially when they are after compensation goodies. However, he points out that this compensation initiative may be more of a political strategy than a genuine act of remorse ahead of the 2027 polls. Human rights activists from Mombasa have welcomed the president's stated commitment to compensation, but demand he retracts past remarks, including shooting protesters.
Let the president retract his initial statements that those who protest must be shot, whether on the legs, and for those who said shoot to kill, they must retract those statements. It will not be enough to compensate those who lost lives in the demonstrations if we are not going to see reforms in the police.
They warn against empty promises, citing past unfulfilled promises to victims of state excesses.
Kuna mama alikuwa akilia kwamba rais alisema kwa atalipa fidia na kusimamia mazishi ya mtoto wake aliyeuliwa wakati wa maandamano, na hadi hivi leo hajaona hata ndururu ambayo ya kuweza kusaidia hiyo familia.
Victor Ngaruya, NTV.